Let's quickly talk about KoF 15 because now that we have an opportunity before all the other games come out, it's been like a few days where we've actually had an opportunity to settle down and go through the arcade mode and go through all like the stuff that's kind of in the game, see what's sort of available and wrap our brains around it, as well as getting familiar and used to the new gameplay mechanics that are in the game. I feel like I've gotten, after the past couple of nights, a pretty decent feeling / understanding of where they're going with KoF 15. And it's exciting. It's honestly really exciting right at the start, right? There's going to be a lot of questions of, is this the best time to get into KoF? 100% it is. There is going to be more people playing King of Fighters right now than ever before. The only caveat with that is that King of Fighters is, and especially KoF 15, is a game that is heavily influenced by something called legacy skill. And legacy skill is sort of a very hot topic amongst fighting games for the past few years. And to give anybody an idea of what that means, it means that if you had a lot of experience with the previous versions of King of Fighters, much less the games that came before any fighting game series, how much does that help you in the new game? And KoF 15, I'd argue, has the most legacy skill in terms of like fighting game franchises, like big ones. Probably has the most legacy skill next to a series like Tekken. If you had been playing Tekken since like Tekken 5, you're gonna be pretty damn good at Tekken 7 right off the bat, you know? You're gonna have a leg in the door, like your foot's gonna be already through the door, you're gonna have a pretty good chance at having a good understanding of what the characters do, what's going on, and how you need to compose yourself in the game. KoF is the exact same way. There's a lot of characters with a lot of weird playstyles and a lot of moves that it's really difficult to understand, like, what do I even do against this stuff? And much less the sort of like the neutral the game presents, how much mobility you have, and how people can just jump around CD and just get away with it. It's like, God, man, what am I supposed to do? All that stuff from previous King of Fighters is here. So when you are jumping into this and it feels like you're inherently like really bad at it, that is absolutely the way the game is. I don't think you should be discouraged by that, because a lot of the folks that played KoF 14 will have a big leg up in this game, especially KoFs before. A lot of the shelf life of previous KoF games will extend itself like hand over hand to this game. So that's great for KoF fans, but for some people that might be new, it could be a little daunting to figure out like how these games are played. And I'm essentially going through the exact same process again that I went through with KoF 14, right? At the beginning of 14, I hated it. I was like, this game sucks, man. I don't like it. And then I literally gave it like a day or two. And then I'm landing like the dankest like Kyo / Terry / Geese combos. And I'm like, this game's awesome. Holy crap, I love it. It's so much fun. And then that had crappy netcode. I would say don't be super discouraged at the start if you're jumping into KoF and it seems really difficult. I would say give it a couple days. Give it a couple of days to sort of absorb everything the game sort of has to offer and how people are playing it, and try to adapt to a different style of gameplay. Because KoF is not a grounded footsie fighting game. It is quite literally the complete opposite of it. There's going to be not a ton of like whiff punishing and stuff like that. There's going to be a little bit of that because all fighting games have that, but it's a very different game. So I'm telling you, once you get past that, and it took me a couple of days even on this game, and now I'm at the point where like, all right, I'm having fun. This is getting better. I'm actually finally consistently getting to the combos I want and stuff like that. So it's got a great meter system. It's got a decent roster. I don't think I'm personally absolutely in love with the roster at the start of 15. So I think the roster is pretty good. However, the horizon is way better. The future of KoF's DLC and how the roster is expanding is already super bright. It's already including one of my favorite characters ever, obviously. Seeing a variety of Galro characters and Team Southtown, which is essentially Team Southtown dickheads, showing back up with Geese and stuff like that, that's super cool. And to me, that's a great initial addition to the game to get people excited about what the hell's going on in the future. That's all exciting. But the thing that everyone wants to know, like netcode, what's going on? How's the net play? I didn't get a chance with the second beta of the game, but my net play experience with the first beta was okay. I feel like if you're playing on PlayStation 5, it's okay, right? It definitely is substantially better than other SNK fighting games, but there's still a few issues. The biggest issue The PlayStation 5 version has specifically a lot of inherent offline input delay, and when you're playing in practice mode, you don't really notice it. In fact, I felt something, but it didn't feel that bad. So I didn't really notice it when we were playing offline practice mode in KoF. So there's an interesting thing that happens. There's like an interesting like 8 to 9 frame barrier, you know, in fighting games, where as soon as you introduce a couple more frames of input delay, it starts to feel weird and it's hard to identify what's going on. It sort of feels like you're playing in mud. The problem with the PS5 version is that since there's already a lot of caked in input delay into the game naturally, you go online and the online adds a couple more frames, like potentially 2 to 3, and I think it fluctuates, and it can feel really weird. To the point where it's hard for me to identify what was going on, but that was pretty much it. The only reason I have this perspective now is because just the other day, the PC version came out, and we fired up the PC version, and I felt like I was playing a different game. Much less, I think the online experience now, for me playing KoF on PC, feels almost better, actually almost better, than the offline training mode the PlayStation 5 has to offer. Just let that soak in. The online on the PC version, even though it has caked in input delay, actually feels more precise and way faster than the offline modes of the PS5 version. It's really nuts. And the science actually came out. A lot of people did some tests and stuff like that. And yes, 100%, it looks like the amount of input delay that's present in the PC version is like 1/3 the PS5. The next best versions are actually the Xbox versions. Funny enough, Xbox players definitely won out on this one. If you guys bought it on Series X, Series X, stuff like that, it's pretty decent on there too. It actually runs the best of all the platform versions of the game besides the PC version. For anybody that is curious, the only tough part about that is that I don't know how populated the Xbox version will be over time. We'll see. But I definitely see the most player base being there on PlayStation and PC. I think the word is out that the PC version of the game runs good. There's some very weird finickiness with the with VSync and settings on the PC version, but it's almost identical to the problems that Street Fighter V had. You just have to mess around with your settings a bit. I eventually figured it out. I actually got it earlier today, and the solution to me was playing on windowed borderless mode and making sure VSync was turned off in the game in the settings. The actual user settings, which are in files, and then going into my NVIDIA control panel and enabling regular VSync, not fast VSync. That seemed to fix the issue for me. All the INI file stuff eventually didn't. Still led to a whole bunch of problems, and I'm sure everybody's monitor, everybody's setup, everybody's capture card's gonna have different issues. It's still weird. I hope it does get patched eventually. That's my biggest gripe with the game, is that the leading console versions, which is arguably the PlayStation version, seems to have a lot of weird input delay issues. And I severely hope, man, I really hope that this game eventually gets crossplay of some kind. I do. I don't know if we have any concrete information whether or not crossplay is causing any online issues with the game, but the netcode on PC, pretty damn good. It feels weird to play KoF in a game that I understand like a little bit, to actually play a KoF online and be able to respond to things and like actually react to things with a Dragon Punch or with a DP or something like that. It feels so damn good. KoF is in a weird state, right? Like, for some reason, a lot of fighting games, even though they're not in association with arcades anymore, a lot of fighting games still feel like they're ports of arcade games. It's very odd to me. KoF is absolutely no different, right? This game feels like it's an arcade game that you can play online at home, you know? There's not a ton of crazy single-player content outside of like the story/arcade mode. That's a little weird to me that we're still in this state where, you know, they're like keeping traditions, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think fighting games should be approached like they're not arcade games anymore. We should actually, yeah, Strife definitely feels that way, and it's not an arcade game. I think fighting games should be approached differently, right? There should be, similar to what NRS does with their games, and they haven't had arcade games for their games since after Mortal Kombat 4. They've been able to develop their games to actually have fully featured modes and all these different things to keep people playing for a ton of time, right? And unfortunately, KoF is still a game that feels like an arcade game that is ported to home. And I do hope that changes for the future of fighting games. But the story mode stuff is fun. Like, we enjoyed it. The only problem is that it's not specifically difficult, even on the hardest difficulty. It's okay. And I think all the additional content that comes with like the intros and the outros, it's got a great presentation arcade mode. It's actually super good, but it's relatively minor. You know, you'll only get so much out of that until you're kind of done with it. If you're a single player fighting game player only, you know, there's only so much you can really do with an arcade mode, outside of adding potentially extra fights and bosses that you can unlock, where it's going to be weird to keep playing that over and over and over again. This game really wants you to go online, and I think that's even shown here. Like, look at this menu. Online, like look at the left-hand side of the screen. This is the offline stuff, right? You got your versus, story, and training. Down here is like tutorials and, you know, challenges, and the challenges are very minor in this game. DJ station and a gallery, like basic stuff, right? The actual gameplay stuff is mostly up here in the mission mode down here. The tutorial is not specifically great. It's only okay, but look how featured the online stuff is. Ranked match, casual match, room match, online training, replay, profile, leaderboard. Like, it's got everything you want in an online fighting game, and that's good. Like, it's weird to me that in 2022, SNK has good online, actually good rollback netcode in their game, the PC version especially, and the online is fully featured and it works. Can we actually acknowledge that the rooms are great? Like, the amount of options you have in a room, right? The amount of stuff you can do between like ranked and casual just working, right? Like, oh man, some games just do not have like player matches / casual matches anymore. What the hell's going on? They force people into ranked practically. So it has everything, and that's cool. There's also a party mode, right? There's a mode where you can take 3 players on each team, and each person pilots a character, right? Each person takes one character, so it's 3v3 online, and it works. It actually, I haven't tried it myself, but I've watched several people play it, and it actually works. I'm like, this is awesome, dude. Like, I could just play Terry, and 2 friends can play another character on another team. It's cool. I don't need all the Habbo Hotel bullshit. I don't need it, man. Like, everything works, and it's functional, and it's mostly similar to what they had in KoF 14, but 14's netcode sucked. I have to give KoF 15 credit, you know? It actually has a fully featured online functional mode. Is it anything super fantastic? It's not, but it's cool. It's cool that it all works and the rooms have good functionality and options and the things that for some reason just are not present in other fighting games. You would think that that is something that a fighting game should not get credit for. Listen. 14 years into console fighting games having rollback netcode, we still have to fight for it, and we still have to fight for fighting games to have basic online functionality, like working lobbies and matches and rooms with options, stuff like that, right? We actually have to fight for that shit. Ideally, the fact that it's here, I think deserves credit, you know? I think this deserves credit, and I think KoF and SNK did a great job at doing their best to make sure it has all the things you need to play online. I really like KoF 15. Long story short, I like the game. The game will be hard for newcomers in general, but this is the best time for you to jump in and play because there's going to be more new players playing right now. Like, this is the ultimate week for it. More new players will be playing this week than ever before. How hard is it compared to other KoFs? That's a good question. Definitely easier. I would say this is easier to get into this game than 14. It's easier to get into this game than 13, but it is still a tough game. Yeah, it's the easiest KoF for sure, you know, for sure. It's still going to be tough for anybody that has been playing a lot of modern fighting games with their accessibility. However, there is one thing. There's one thing about the game that is not going to be nearly as difficult as previous games. Learning how to play the game will be substantially easier because not only do you have to learn how to fight against your opponents, how people play the game, and learn your characters, which are the 2 things that are tough to learn in fighting games. You do not have to deal with the ultimate thing that makes fighting games really tough to learn: bad online. This will take so much more time. That one right there will take so much more time and make the other 2 things take way more time, and it'll become way more frustrating. So the fact that this is arguably one of the easiest King of Fighters to jump in and learn because once it's new, it's got new systems, it's a brand new game, and there's more people playing it, and the online is actually good. It's actually functional and good. So I definitely recommend it. And to be completely honest, if you got the PS5 version specifically and you really like this game, unless you can refund it, I think you should check out the PC version if you get a chance, or try to see if the PC version's on sale someplace or if there's a discount code. Truly, if you invested in the PS5 version, your eyes will open, dude. Get the PC version. Go get the PC version. That's my final recommendation. I think it's the best time to get into KOF than ever, and there's more right around the corner. I'm trying not to say Horizon, and yeah. So give it a shot if you get a chance, and try to get past that first 24 to 48 hours if it is frustrating for you, because it is a different kind of game. Trust me, there will be a moment where it clicks, and it'll get friggin' fun.